Authors want to sell more books. But it's hard if you're not visible. We can help. Claim your instant access to the 10 tips for free book promos from the Bold Authors Network at fictionwriterspodcast.com/boldauthors now. Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where you will discover tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Here you'll find new energy, new perspectives, new resources, and new ideas that will spark your creativity into a blaze of brilliance. It's easier than you think. Be sure you visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, get out your notebook, tune in, and let's get started.
Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast, tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Today, I am delighted to welcome to our podcast, Oriane Livingston. She's a critically acclaimed French-American published novelist, filmmaker, and environmentalist. A graduate of UCLA School of Law and a former attorney, her love of books and movies compelled her to embrace an artistic career. She studied screenwriting at the UCLA Film and Television School and the fundamentals of acting at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. Throughout her journey, she's had the privilege of collaborating on numerous films with several Academy Award-winning film producers and studios in Hollywood and in Europe. Her storytelling aims at reconnecting us to the natural world. She draws her inspiration from wild animals, trees, and stars. A nature lover, Oriane can often be found on the hiking trails of the Santa Monica Mountains in Los Angeles with Cosmos, her beloved husky. She's a vegan and practices yoga, dance, and transcendental meditation. Welcome, Oriane.
Thank you. Thank you, Lana, for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you today. We're going to be talking about your book in a moment, but I just wanted to ask if you would share with us what took you from the law and being a lawyer into all this art. How did that happen?
Sure. Well, I've always been quite an imaginative and creative child, but I also felt very much compelled by having some type of role to contribute to justice, righteousness in this world. So law, if you read my book, my childhood is very much inspired. Una's childhood is very much inspired by my own childhood. And I lived in a troubled household. So women's right, fighting, defending yourself was also part, of my intrinsic identity during my formative years. So I guess, I was at first attracted by the justice component of law, but my soul, who I truly am, loves storytelling, imagination, and it just took over. It was more important for me and a key to my own happiness and balance in my life to actually be true to myself and follow what I believe is my path instead of following what I would say society, try to impose on me. Even if being a lawyer is a wonderful and very noble profession, it was just not for me. Writing, filmmaking is who I am. It's part of who I am. So I guess that's my answer to this question.
Yes, I think every writer and artist is faced with that dilemma.
Yes. And sometimes over.
Most parents say, you want to be an actor? You want to be a writer? You should be a lawyer, doctor, or...
Right. But I don't know. For me, it was fundamental to follow my own path and my heart. My first novel was actually about following your heart, and it explains how I made that transition.
Yes. So tell us how you got started with publishing itself. Was writing a novel the first artistic thing you did, or did you do something else?
So as a kid, I was writing poetry. I've always been very much drawn, by nature, the cosmos, stars, and so that was always at the heart of my writing. But very early on, my dream was to write a novel. So I wrote my first novel, in French. The first novel was exclusively in French. And in France, you don't need an agent. You don't need a literary agent. You just send your manuscript to targeted publishing companies. So I selected the 10 biggest companies in France, publishing companies in France, and I submitted my manuscript. And the first miracle happened, because everyone says that never happens, but it happened for me. One of the biggest publishers in France called me back and decided to publish my novel. And in a way, it's similar for this one, because this one, I decided to write it in English as well, because again, this book is my life's mission. That's how I feel, and that's why I dedicated so much time of my life, to write it in both languages. And same thing, I honestly didn't want to wait too long for agents to get back to me. The process was excruciating. I'm too sensitive. So after a few months where I was just not getting any answers, I had sent it only to 20 agents. I was just not getting any answers. I got some solicited my manuscript, but then I would just not hear back. And the silence was just, I prefer no than silence because you just don't know where you stand. So after a few months, I decided not to pursue that road anymore, but I didn't want to self-publish. And I had the idea to look in Canada. Because in Canada, you also, which I didn't know, you don't need a literary agent. And so I found a publisher in Canada who was able to publish my book in both languages. He fell in love with the text and decided very quickly to publish it. So that's my journey in terms of publishing.
Wow, that is so fascinating that you went to Canada where they do publish in both languages. That's pretty great.
Thank you.
Yeah, very smart.
Thank you. Yeah. It's all about finding the right person, like for everything else. Someone who connects, who understands your message, who can, feel your words, your emotions, and fall in love with your work. And then it's like everything else.
Yes, that synchronicity, that alignment, it just meshes together so well. And that's true in many areas of the artistic world.
Yes.
Find someone that gets it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So your book is called The Guardians of the Earth. And what was the idea that got you started writing the book?
So writing this book, the genesis of this book was twofold. I really wanted to write a book that would have an impact on, the protection of the environment, because I believe this is the greatest threat to humanity. This is our number one priority. Earth is our home. We can already experience and witness the disastrous consequences of human activities on the planet. And I mean, my book is both a love letter to the beauty of Earth, but it is really a call to protect the environment. And I think that the next generation is key to protect the planet, and that children's literature is crucial to inspire children and also have them adopt very early on some good habits that will have a ripple effect, on nature and the planet. I just want to add that before being a call for the planet, it's also a fun ride for a kid, because I believe that if you love nature, protecting it will happen naturally. Same thing like with everything else. So the book aims at bringing children and teenagers closer to nature, so their love for nature will take over and they will naturally protect it. Everyone can be a superhero. Everyone can be a guardian of the earth, including, the children's caretakers, their parents. So this is a book that invites everyone to become a guardian of the earth now.
Mm. Yeah, that is what would you say was your biggest challenge with that?
It was challenging to wave a tale that would both entertain and educate at the same time. Um, what was quite challenging as well is that it's a saga, so there are many characters, like in Star Wars. So, sorry, I love fantasy and sci-fi and other worlds, and I also draw my inspiration from movies. So, I worked in film. So what was challenging is that there are three kids who become the guardians of Earth, and I needed to meticulously orchestrate, all of their actions because it's a big epic fresque with multiple adventures. I needed to articulate correctly all of those stories that intricate so we could have a fluid ride. So there was a lot of work on the structure side. And also I chose, the poetic form to render homage to the beauty of Earth. I thought that, I love words and I love poetry. So I thought that this form of language would be the best to evoke the magnificence of nature. And sometimes it was challenging, but it was also pure delight, I have to say. I love writing poetry.
Yes, and young people love that. They love the sound of the words and
It's
the
like
rhythm of the words.
yes, it's like a beautiful song. To be
Yes.
honest, I mean, I think my book, in a way, is a huge poem.
Ah, yes, yes. It is, I'm so glad you brought that up about you need to entertain and tell a story as well as fulfill the purpose of the book.
Exactly.
Yes, it's so important to bring that up because a lot of aspiring writers watch the podcast, and I always say you have to tell the story. You have to know what the story is. The story has to be the reason why we're together. The
Yes,
rest of it comes in later.
exactly. The story is always at the forefront. Absolutely.
Yes.
I wrote it
So,
as a movie. Like I loved watching my own movie in my head and transcribing what I was seeing. That's how the creative process happens for me.
yes, yes, you're actually become a transcriber
Yes,
of the
a
movie.
conduit. Yes, completely.
Yes. Those moments when you're sleeping and all of a sudden you wake up and the movie's running, you have to get it.
Thank you. I'm not the only one. Exactly. Or you're driving. It's always when I'm in some type of moving motion. I walk, I hike, I drive. Suddenly, where is my computer?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But it's the
I s-
magic of creation. I love that moment
yeah.
when the scenes start to unroll, characters come to life before your own eyes, in a way. I just love this pure magic in writing.
Yes. Yes. That's why we keep doing it, I think. Is
Yes, otherwise it's a lot of work. So yes, yes.
yes. Where did your characters come from?
So Una is very much inspired by me. And then, so I wanted to craft a story around kids protecting the planet. So for me, those kids needed to come from different countries. They couldn't all be born in the same country. So it was very important for me that those three kids, one is, Native American, Chumash in particular, because I wanted to render homage to the indigenous cultures. They have always shared with the world how respecting Mother Nature is paramount for human beings to live in harmony. And so it was very important for me that one kid was Native American and Chumash. I say Chumash because, I live near Los Angeles, and there are several tribes living around Malibu, Santa Ynez. So one character, and I wanted the little girl Una to have a romantic interest, or at least a strong friendship developing between this little boy and herself. And the third kid is a little Sudanese girl. So she comes from Africa, because Africa is, a continent that is particularly exposed to the droughts, to excessive heat waves, even if now we are all experiencing excessive heat and droughts and tsunamis and hurricanes. So it's not an African issue anymore, a Chinese issue. It's a global issue. And yes, so those three kids needed to come from different countries all around the world. And the idea is that they all can become guardian of Earth, no matter what, no matter their sex, their genres, their sexual orientation, their religious background. We can all be superheroes.
Yes. So what is the quest? What is it that they're trying to resolve in the story as far as the story goes?
Sure. So also, a common denominator of all of these three kids is that they all have a difficult childhood. So in a way, they need purpose and they need a family. And I wanted to show how you do not choose your family when you're born, but you can create it elsewhere. And nature can be your best friend, can be your ally, but you can also form a family with your friends, people who have your interests at best. And so the quest is twofold. There is a personal quest for each child to find a family, to find some type of emotional belonging. And the quest of the story, of the fantasy story, is that they all meet with this magnificent woman who is the spirit of Earth. And this incredibly beautiful woman tells them that they need to find a crystal that will reconnect humanity with her heart. The story is that eons ago, Earth was a lush paradise and all humans lived in harmony. But a villain, the dark planet, severed the filaments of light that used to connect the spirit of Earth with each human. She severed those cordons, those sacred cordons, disconnecting humans from nature. So these three kids have to go to Egypt and resolve, the enigma of the Sphinx. I also wanted to educate children about ancient Egypt history, and they have to go to a mysterious monastery in China to pass some tests in order to retrieve this sacred crystal that will reconnect humanity with the spirit of Earth, the spirit of nature. That's
Wow.
the journey.
Yes, yes. That is so interesting about the crystal. And the spirit of Earth is a beautiful woman.
Yes. Nature is magnificent, so I decided to personify Earth. And actually, I've been told that it's one of the first novels where Earth is being personified. I wanted to personify Earth because in indigenous cultures, they did it. Earth was considered a deity in the Aztec culture, Inca cultures, Native American culture, all the indigenous cultures, they all celebrated Mother Earth. Pachamama, I think it's Inca. And so I wanted to personify Earth so kids would relate and feel closer to her, and even adults. So that was the goal of personifying her. And she's a woman because women evoke beauty. So yes, Earth is a woman.
Yes, and giving life. It's all, yeah,
Abundance, flowers, animals, trees. It's feminine,
yes.
about giving. Yes.
do you have any art associated with it, or is there any drawings or anything, or maybe you have a movie in mind or something like that, a film?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I have many, many derivative works in mind. So first, the cover. Um, I came up with the concept of the cover, but we hired an award-winning illustrator, and I personally love the cover. I think she did a terrific art cover for my book, so I'm really happy about it. It really reflects the spirit of the book. Now, I would like to do a manual of the Guardians of the Earth. So each kid could have, just a 15 pages booklets with drawings and have some concrete tips that they can implement in their daily life to become a guardian of Earth. And so I want to do this little manual. I am hoping to collaborate with a Chumash artist who would, do the drawings. So that's one project. I would like to. The book is a standalone novel, but I structured it as a series. So I'm planning, on writing the sequels of the book. And of course, I am actively working and hoping to make a movie based on the novel. Uh, I wrote it, it's very cinematic, and I think it has the potential to become a wonderful film with the right director, the right people, the right team. And yes, let's just say that's in the works.
That's great. When is the book coming out? What is the date?
It actually came out. It just came out. It came out on October 8th, and it's
Oh,
available. Yes, now it's available everywhere in the US and Canada, in bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Yes.
yes. Okay, very good. So that the links will be in the show notes for that. I knew it was either coming soon or just happened. I wasn't sure which.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so it's available now. So
Yes.
what is your next step? Now that the book is out,
Yes.
what's coming up for you?
So the next step is to craft this manual of the Guardians of the Earth, find the right film producer for the adaptation of this, the first novel to the screen. The book will also be released in France. So we have the launch of the book in France coming up in 3 weeks on November 12th. And that's a lot of work. And besides the book, I'm also a filmmaker. So I have written a nonfiction book about higher states of consciousness, and I'm currently in pre-production on a documentary based on this nonfiction book about enlightenment, Eastern philosophies, and how meditation actually can be a solution, in my opinion, for a sustainable world.
Okay, yes, that's terrific. I do follow that as well. That's something I'm interested in
Ah,
as well. So let's stay in touch with each other on
I
social
would love
media.
to.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes, I can. I'm very happy we met.
Yes, I am too. I am too.
Thank you.
So, tell us how our listeners can get more from you about your website or anything you'd like to leave with us.
Sure. All of your audience is more than welcome to visit my website. It's my first name and last name, OrianeLivingston.com. And on the website, they can find more information about the novel, about myself, and more importantly, I think, some free suggestions in terms of eco-friendly family activities, such as, rescuing a pet, visiting an organic farm, planting a tree, reading books with children about the protection of the environment. So I put together a few free suggestions if readers are interested, so they can have concrete tips that they can implement in their activities with their kids.
Okay, very good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful conversation.
And thank you for being with us today. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where we share tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Remember to visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Fiction Writers Podcast.